Sarah!
When I first found out that I had to take public speaking for my program, I was angry. The counselors in the registration office obviously hadn't known what they were talking about. They told me I had to take English 101 or public speaking, one or the other, not both. And so I was horrified when my instructor told me that to get my degree as a pharmacy technician, I would have to take public speaking that quarter. She told me to go to the registration office right away and see if I could get in. And lucky me, there was one spot left just for me. I couldn't think of a single class I dreaded taking more. I'd withdrawn from my speech class at Pierce College the day of my first speech because I was terrified. So how was I going to get through the humiliation and fear I had been avoiding for so long? I remember the day of my first speech. I came into class shaking. My face was red, my palms were sweaty, and I felt like I was going to throw up or pass out. I tried to talk as fast as I could to get through it and return to the safety of my seat. Then the second speech, it wasn't much better. I decided to demonstrate how to make smoothies, and I'm sure everyone could see me trembling as I added the ingredients. It wasn't until probably the third or fourth speech when I finally stopped feeling like I was either going to throw up or pass out. And when it was my turn to step up to the podium, I was kind of confident. I couldn't imagine on my first day of class that I would be here today having made it through all 7 of my speeches, well, almost. Today I'm going to share with you how I constructed my portfolio, including my previous speeches, some humor, and what I've learned this quarter, and my video reaction. So first I'm going to share with you my previous speeches. So this is my portfolio, and I spent probably like a total of 12 hours on it. Kind of sucked. Here's my table of contents, and there's my outlines. My first speech I did on my daughter, so you think I would have been pretty comfortable talking about it, but I wasn't. And it's actually the only speech I didn't really have written out word for word except for this one, but I still looked at my notes for some reason, even though there wasn't really anything on them except an outline. And then my demonstration speech, I was so nervous I spilled smoothie on the floor and on the table, and it was pretty embarrassing. And I actually forgot that I was going to pass out the smoothies after my speech, and I did it during my speech, and that made it kind of awkward because people got to come up and see how bad I was shaking. And then my third speech was actually when I started to be comfortable. I did it on the significance of 3 past speeches on Susan B. Anthony. It was pretty interesting. I thought it would be really boring, but she was a really good speaker, and she had a lot to contribute to society, so I enjoyed reading her speeches. In my fourth speech, I didn't think I did very well on that one. I did Why You Should Hire Me, and it's kind of hard for me to talk about myself. It's kind of hard to step back and say good things about yourself because you don't want to sound like stuck up, but it was a good learning tool because I learned how to present myself in an interview a little bit better. And my fifth speech was, what did I do for that one? Oh, my live community speeches. And I thought that was really stupid at first. I was like, why do we have to go watch other people speak when we get to do that every day in class? But I actually enjoyed it. I went to an orchestra, and I learned that you don't clap in between the parts of the song. I almost did. That was embarrassing. And then I also went to church, and can't remember what else I did. Oh, I went to a lecture at Pierce College on immigration. That was pretty interesting. On my sixth speech, I did with Carlos, and we had a lot of trouble with that one. We had a few different partners, but we finally found one that was willing to help us, and she was really nice, and it was really good getting to know her. And Carlos was very helpful. Even though I had my program during the day, he kept trying to go and meet with the partner when I couldn't, and then finally he figured it out so we could both meet with her, and we ended up doing a pretty good job on that speech, I think. What do you say, Carlos?
Yeah.
And then, now we're to this speech, and I did an outline for it, but I'm actually doing it different than I even wrote my outline, but I didn't have time to change it, so hopefully I won't be marked down for that.
Please do.
And then we have the instructor rubrics. On my first speech, Dr. Phil said I did light lip smacking. I was like, what the heck is that? I don't do that. What is that? I asked people. I went home and I asked my boyfriend. I'm like, do I smack my lips? I don't even know what that means. I was trying to practice doing it. Like, how would I smack my lips? And then I watched other people. I was like, I don't do that. But then I did do that. So now I made sure that I did not do that ever again because that sounded really unattractive. And then here's my interviews. I didn't like doing those. Those were pretty humiliating. But I could see the purpose of them. Get you to learn how to talk to people. And then I did my 3 past speech critiques, which I already told you a little bit about in my live community speeches. My thoughts for the week. Most of them were about how could I handle all my workload. I had 5 classes this quarter, and I'm working part-time, and I'm a full-time mom, so that's pretty hard. But I did it, so be quiet. And what I've read this quarter, and then I was going to share with you my humor section. Right on the board so you know my main points here. Okay, so for my humor, you guys, some of you saw my little sister that came in the other day. I love her very much, but she's kind of ditzy. And she called me not that long ago when the gas prices had finally dropped to a pretty low price. And she was freaking out, and I was like, what's wrong? And she explained to me that she had less than a quarter tank of gas left, and she was still at least 10 to 15 minutes from the closest gas station. And I told her, I don't really see the problem. If your gas light hasn't even come on, you should be fine. And she said, well, since gas prices have gone down, doesn't that mean that a quarter tank of gas isn't as much as before? Don't you get less for the gallon? And it was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard. I was laughing so hard. She'd be pretty mad if she knew I told you that. But. And then I have my ideas. I was going to read with you what I've learned this quarter. I've learned this quarter that I can handle more than I knew when I put my mind to it. At the beginning of the quarter, I couldn't fathom how I could possibly succeed at being a mother, part-time employee, and a full-time student. That's 3 jobs. It wasn't as bad as I thought. I learned that organization is a valuable tool for success, especially when it comes to public speaking. I learned to roll with the punches, especially when it came to speech number 6. Things come up, but as long as you stay level-headed and take everything as it comes, the stress won't be as overwhelming. I learned to not be so hard on myself. I'm doing great, and I deserve to be proud of myself and reward myself for the tasks I've completed. I also learned that talking in front of groups of people comes easier and easier as time goes on, especially after you get to know the people in your class. It's not as scary the 7th time as the first time. I learned not to judge a class or teacher at first glance. I thought I would dread coming to my public speaking class every day, but as time went on, it actually turned out to be my favorite class this quarter. I will try to be more open-minded from now on. And then I'll just share with you really quick. Oh, I forgot to write on the board, but my points. That's okay. My reaction to the video of my speech, I'll just read you the end of it. At the beginning of the class, I was almost angry that our speeches were going to be taped. I thought, that's really weird. I hate seeing myself on video. Why do we have to do that? I thought there was really no point to it other than for Dr. Phil to humiliate and embarrass us. But after watching the videotape, I realized that it really is a good learning tool. You get to see yourself as others do, and that's something you usually don't get to see. So I think it was a very valuable experience, and I think that all public speaking students should get at least one chance to see their speech on tape. So now I've told you a little bit about my portfolio, including my previous speeches, what I've learned this quarter, and my humor section. I really enjoyed this class, and I actually learned something through the experience. And sometimes you come into things with a bad attitude and a preconceived notion, but if you have an open mind, you might actually learn something and enjoy it.